What's going on, everybody? My name is Dylan. If you're coming from the last video, you'll notice that this week there's a lack of snow. That is because we are in Boise, Idaho right now. If you watched the last video, we did a full walkthrough on my 2015 Porsche Cayenne that we built for the 2024 Sema Show. But this week, we're going to be talking about a different vehicle that's going to be Sema 2025, and it is right there behind that garage door. That's right, there is a new project for the year of 2025, and it is right behind that garage door. I'm going to get this popped open, show you guys the vehicle, and start talking about it. Also, bear with me, guys. It's a little bit windy out here, but I'm going to try and get this video done and out to you guys while I'm in town.
My life be like, yeah. My life be like, yeah. My life be like times like these that make me say, yeah. Lord, if you see me, please come my way. Like leaving breadcrumbs all when I stray. Yeah, well, I'm sacrificing the price you pay. Like living like a fingertip. Sometimes I fall, I slip.
All right, y'all, we are in downtown Boise right now at the Boise Train Depot, right above the lovely Boise Valley. And here we have my 1965 Falcon. We've got this thing parked up here. I'm gonna open it up, walk around it for you guys, show you everything we did to have this ready for Sema in 2023. And then we're gonna talk about what we're gonna do going forward into Sema 2025. And here she is, everybody, my 1965 Ford Falcon Futura. Back in the day, this thing was a four-door economy sedan made by Ford. These things were pretty common out on the roads, but nowadays you don't see a ton of them because not a lot of people are restoring these when the 1965 Mustang came out the same year. When I saw this car at 12 years old, I saw the four doors, and I thought, my friends can fit in the back of that with me. This was the perfect vehicle to pick up. I got it for $900 and started rebuilding it with my father. Now today, it sits like this. I'll put a photo up of what it looked like the day I pulled it out. It's a little bit different. Let's get into everything we've done. Starting on the exterior here, the first thing you'll notice is that this car has a two-tone paint job. So the top is a champagne metallic and the bottom is actually a cherry red metallic. Can't really see it in this lighting because it's pretty cold out here in Boise right now, but in the sun, this is a deep cherry metallic red. For all you Mercedes fanboys out there, you may recognize these colors. When I was younger, I was heavily inspired by the Mercedes Maybach and the S-classes of the time, and I really saw this car and just wanted to do a two-tone. So there was this natural body line that was occurring, and we decided to split it right down that and carry it all the way down the body of the car. Love how this turned out. There's not a lot out there. This is, as I know, the only one in the country or the world in this color selection. But yeah. The entire inspiration for this vehicle was just to kind of go luxury. Carrying on that heavily inspired Mercedes theme on the interior here, as we move into that, you can see the colors that we chose for this build are very similar. I'll get in here and talk a little bit about what's going on. Jumping into the car now, there's a lot to talk about in here that I'll show you, but I want to start with these seats. When I got this car, it was originally a black exterior with a red vinyl bench on the interior. Unfortunately, because I picked this up in 2017, the seats were absolutely chewed through and gone. Here's a photo of them. So we had full liberty to choose whatever color we wanted for the outside and the inside because we were going to be redoing all of it. So we picked these color by sample and rolled with that. The inside of this thing is heavily themed black in the tan, and then we have chrome accents everywhere. So I've got my feet folded up underneath me so you guys can see everything. But here is the perspective from the driver's seat. We retained the original door handles, got replacement window cranks. These door cards are custom, and we have speakers in the front. And then right in front of us here, the original steering wheel was all cracked, so we replaced it with a smaller diameter wooden steering wheel, retained the original horn, which is awesome. And as we move on past this, this dash is one of the best details of this vehicle. It's a Dakota digital dash, so when it's off, it sits like this, but then when you turn it on, service isn't actually due. Suddenly we've got a digital dash here. So we've got a tachometer up top, a digital speedometer, clock readout. These Dakota digital dashes are really awesome because it retains your actual OE needles, but you get those digital readouts so that you can add sensors, temperature, fuel economy if you wanted to. I know you can option these with cruise control, but they're pretty sweet. Moving on now from the steering wheel, we'll move to the middle of the car where the center console sits. Now this is not even remotely stock. This is all custom here, but we retained a couple of the original features of the vehicle. So When we got the car, the original radio had been torn out at some point, and this was just all exposed bird metal, and we were missing the midsection of this trim piece. So we built this center console to really fill that gap and fit in AC vents and a couple of other features in the vehicle that we wanted to add. So we took the original ignition, moved it to the middle here, and now there's a push button start up there. And then up top and center, we have this Kenwood 11-inch Apple CarPlay touchscreen running the entire sound system. Underneath it, AC vents, because we're running a full AC system in this. Retain the original switches, but now this runs AC and heat. And then these switches here are for auxiliary functions. We have heated bench seats in here. So we have a high and a low for the heated seats. And then these are for other functions as well. Added cup holders, super important. Being a high school car, wanted to be able to fit coffee cups, whatever, in there. And then a little phone charger underneath. Also gives a voltage readout for the cars. With the doors now open, you can see the door cards that we built for this. The original door cards in this car were pretty much trashed, so we built new ones from scratch to match the color theming of everything, and obviously to fit these speakers. To properly show you the speakers, we have to start in the trunk because that's really what showcases them. We managed to retain the original trunk keys in here. Pop this open for you. All right, we've got it unlocked now. Here is the trunk of this Falcon. Obviously, none of this is original, but this is really a showcase space for the sound system and these Optima batteries, which is what took us to SEMA in 2023. So, quick mentioning these are two Optima yellow tops that ran everything in this vehicle. We wanted them to be front and center for the SEMA show in 2023. And then right behind it, all of the sound system. So everything in this vehicle is Hertz Audio. Worked with them to build this out. So we've got the amps for the subwoofer, the front speakers, the crossovers. Let's run through all the speakers. Starting with the subs, these are the Hertz 10-inch low-profile 1,000-watt subwoofers. We have two of them built into speaker boxes and then enclosed in the corners of this. So this whole pocket here has the speaker box, and it ports behind the back wall where all the amps are mounted and into the cab, which I'll show you in a second. But these are identical on both sides. We made these little speaker grills to protect them in case anyone was trying to slide stuff into them. And then also back here, little note, we have that filler box because on these old cars, the original gas cap sits back here. Also worth noting back here, for the 2023 SEMA show, CBF Performance sent out these awesome billet aluminum trunk and hood hinges, so you'll see those on the front when I open up the engine bay as well. But we just really wanted to dress up this entire space, showcase these batteries and the speaker for the SEMA show that year. With the trunk closed, we're going to move on to the back seat here, where we have what looks like 3 6x9s from Hertz. There's 2 actual 6x9s back here for the rear sound, and then this mid 6x9 is actually the port for the subwoofers. So right underneath that, there's a hole, and that's where all the air moves up from the trunk into the actual cab of the car for sound. And then rounding out the sound in the front on these doors, identical on both sides, we have the Hertz Pro Millis 3-way series, so a 6.5, 3.5, and a tweeter. The crossovers for that are in the trunk. We're running those on both sides, so the sound in this vehicle is just insane. So I've got the sound system kicked on for a second. I'm going to play this for you just so you can see how insane the clarity of a Hertz audio system is.
He confides in me, he needs to. He doesn't feel the need to lie.
With the interior covered, we're going to move on to the most interesting and exciting part of this car, which is, of course, the engine bay. So here it is. I'm sure a lot of you were expecting a V8 or a Coyote or something. Nope. This is a 200 inline 6 that came with the motor that we actually decided to keep and build out for the SEMA show.
I don't want to get into too many details about the modifications of this because this is actually going to be ripped out and totally ditched in the next couple of weeks to go for something new. Some of the most notable modifications here in the engine bay, firstly this air box. So this was designed here in Boise by a company called Trap Fab that pulls the air from the front through this exhaust pipe up to this Offenhauser cap, which is actually from the 50s. This midsection here that sits above that Weber dual barrel carb is a custom 3D printed piece that adapted us from the carburetor to this hat to get over to this airbox. Additionally, this car is fitted with full Willwood disc brake conversions. Currently, we're sitting on a 4-lug setup. That's going to be changing soon, but full disc brakes all around to make sure we have proper stopping power. Up front, we have jump posts, since as you saw before, both of the batteries have been moved to the trunk. That also freed up the space for things like this airbox and gave us a little bit more room in the engine bay for what we're doing in the future. Just like in the back, CBF Performance sent these awesome billet hinges. And then tucked underneath the alternator, you can barely see it down there, but we do have an AC compressor tucked in there. So one additional belt to run the AC system in that, which is why you're seeing those additional hoses to the bulkhead. Obviously, the next thing that I'd be talking about would be suspension, but we didn't really do much here. If you're familiar with Falcons, we did Shelby drop this car, which did improve the ride a lot, but we're just running on Scott Drank Mustang shocks. We did replace the strut towers up top and cut a couple of springs underneath for a little bit of a better fitment to fit these 4-lug Koenig wheels. But past that, it's pretty much a stock ride. With the additional weight, we did have to put a single air shock in the back so that we could pump up the rear with all the batteries and everything back here. But we're still sitting on leaf springs. We did swap to a Mustang Leaf. For exhaust, we're running a true dual tip exhaust, MagnaFlow mufflers underneath with these nice aggressive chrome tips that looked really good with the bumper. Here's one more look and overview of this engine bay as it sits right now. Again, I'm not going to tell you what we're doing in here yet, but this is the last time it's going to look like this and have this motor.
The sun is getting ready to go down out here, so I'm going to close this thing up, jump in the car, and give you guys a little bit more information about the backstory of this thing and some of the details while we're driving back home. All right, we're up. Say hi.
Hello.
So I was gonna talk about the engine and the transmission, but in true fashion, the starter froze up as I was getting ready to drive it home. This is exactly why we're going to a new motor and a new trans, and we're rebuilding this thing because this was never the most reliable motor. Here we sit. Friend just so happened to be up here, but oh well.
Okay. You guys have fun.
So, anyway, it's a bit darker, and I think this is a perfect segue to start talking about the things I don't like about this car. The first one being reliability. I'm currently riding backwards on a trailer because as I was getting ready to drive back to my house after filming the YouTube video, the car broke down. The starter, it's got a high performance, low profile starter sitting right next to the inline six, and it just completely locked up on us. It's the third starter that's done that. There's other issues that we have with the motor. The transmission, it's a C4 automatic and it leaks, and the flywheel's bad, and we've rebuilt the transmission twice now and it still doesn't run well. And then with all of the performance mods that we had done to the 200 inline 6, we could never get it to run smoothly or like without continuing to have to move, it would start getting really hot. And there's just a litany of issues that comes with, you know, extensively modifying old cars like these. So that's cool. Well, if you guys want to find out what we're going to be doing next on this car to solve these issues, engine swap, transmission swap, all the details, make sure to subscribe so that you're the first to know what's coming next. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.
What are you shooting on?
A7 IV.